Okay, welcome to this month's book review, which was Never Binge Again. This is your health coach Heather, and we are talking about this amazing book that we read last month. And I'm going to introduce the next month's book at the very end, so stick with me. But I'd love to hear any of your takeaways from this book, what you really enjoyed about it, what inspired you, what motivated you, and maybe even some things you didn't like about it. Just pop all of that into the chat and we'll talk about all of that. All right, so Glenn Livingston wrote this book and he's got a PhD in psychology and he's an awesome guy, just great book. Really enjoyed the setup of it. If you're tuning in and you didn't get to read this book yet and you're just kind of wanting to be motivated or inspired to read it, go read it. The first couple hours is really the nitty gritty of the program around Never Binge Again and what that means, how to do it, everything like that. And then the last, maybe the last 4 hours or something like that, maybe 3 hours, is more like him coaching clients who have struggled with eating problems. So you get to hear him firsthand coach his clients on their real problems, which I found was very relatable with a lot of things that my clients go through. So don't just get through part of the book and say, you know what, I'm good, I know it. I want you to actually listen to his coaching and his clients and the things that they're struggling with. See if you can't find some truth in your life, what they're going through, and compare it to yours. Okay, let's get going here. Never Binge Again. The idea of this book is that there is a pig inside of all of us. He calls it the pig, right? The voice in your head that says, it's time to eat now. I can't not eat this food. I've got to have it just one more time. It's just all the little cravings and voices in your head that make you eat foods that are off of your plan. So he talks about really creating your food plan and having some rules. And he doesn't say what specific plan to follow. He basically says you get to choose your own food plan, and you can eat whatever you want. You can have whatever diet you want, but you're going to need to create this food plan and have some rules around it. So there are definitely some nevers. And then the nevers is what foods, drinks, and behaviors will you never indulge in again as long as you live? So you get to think about this. What foods got you to the point you're at right now? I would highly consider that those foods be the ones that you never indulge in again, or you have some very strict rules around so that you don't end up gaining all of your weight back after the program you're on with me. And then what are some always? What will you always do regarding food, drink, and food behaviors? So for example, you could say, I eat 6 servings of vegetables each day. And or I always write down my plan the night before so I know exactly what I'm eating. This will force me to think through any difficult spots. If you get really clear on your nevers and your always, things that you will and will not do on your food plan, it will be cemented into your brain. So when you start to deviate from your plan, you're going to remember like, I remember that that's not on my plan. You're also going to have some unrestriction, that's supposed to say unrestrictions there. So what foods, drinks, and behaviors will you permit yourself to have without restrictions? I would consider, I get to eat a whole plate full of delicious, healthy food, and I'm not going to restrict the vegetables. You could say that if you wanted to. You can have some unrestrictions around, I'm going to drink water and have lemon in it, and maybe have some herbal teas, and I'm not going to restrict myself on how much water I'm drinking during the day. A lot of you guys have a hard time getting up to your 100 ounces a day anyways. So think about the healthy behaviors for your unrestrictions. What about conditionals? What foods, drinks, and behaviors will you permit only at certain times and in certain amounts? and are restricted by other conditions. So for example, if you know there's going to be holidays and celebrations, maybe you have certain times where you say, I will not eat sugar except for on my birthday. I will treat myself to a piece of cheesecake or something like that. You have conditions around the foods and drinks and behaviors instead of you just unconsciously eating and drinking and doing whatever you want to do just because there's get-togethers and celebrations. Do you see how we super define everything here? And I really love, that's what I loved about this book, is it gives you the opportunity to have structure in your life where your brain has just been running like a toddler in there, eating and drinking whatever it wants. And that's why we get to the point we're at and we need to ask for some help. But now we can start to have a plan where we define the nevers, the always, the unrestrictions, and then the conditionals, of course. Okay. What is a binge? Now, some of you may have liked this part of the book. I know that it was eye-opening for me. I think most of you did not like this part of the book. He defines a binge as one bite off of your carefully defined food plan. So again, you get to decide. This is the best part about having a food plan, is you get to decide what's doable for you. If you want to add a piece of chocolate to your food plan every day, I wouldn't recommend that, because as we know that cravings beget cravings. So the more sugar and flour you eat, the more you're going to crave that. And so you have some restrictions around that, right? Some carefully planned out, what was the word I was looking for there? Conditions, okay? You have some conditions around eating chocolate, maybe, or a piece of candy. But he says one bite off your carefully defined food plan is a binge. I mean, what did you think about that? You feel free to pop anything in the chat right now if you want to type out your thoughts or feelings on any of this. Without the one bite off your food plan is a binge criteria, your personal food binge bullseye will become fuzzy and vague. If you don't know where the target is, how are you going to hit it? That's why he says one bite off of your carefully defined food plan is a binge, because then the lines become fuzzy and vague. And now you've redefined your lines of what you will and will not eat. Can you see how, I mean, that happens to us because we might take a bite off. Now it becomes easier to do that more and more often. And then we can't hit our target, our goals, and our goal weight. So we got to draw out some clear lines around the bullseye so that you can hit it. And that's where the food plan comes in handy. And if you happen to miss the target and you eat off your plan, or you had a bite of something, he says just analyze, readjust, and recommit again, over and over. That's the name of this game, you guys. The name of this game is how to stay in the game. If you get out of the game, you roll that dice and you get back in the game. It's coming in and coming out. All right, we're never going to be perfect at this, but what we can do is set some clear, defined guidelines around what we will and will not do. Okay, so your food plan, it remains the law. Do you get to run every red light? So he talks about, you know, if you go up to a stoplight and it's red and you run it, do you say, oh, and you got away with it, maybe? Do you now get to do that for every single red light? We got to think about food that way. Just because we had that piece of chocolate today, do we now indulge and let ourselves have it every single day? That's why your food plan, just like the Bible's like the word, right? Well, your food plan needs to be like the word for your nutrition. What are your guidelines? What is your criteria? What is it? And then you take your food plan as serious as obeying the law. If you're married, would you just go out and, you know, the best looking guy out there on the street, he gave this example, would you just kiss him and decide to be with him? You most likely wouldn't. I hope you wouldn't anyway, because you took your vows seriously with the person that you married. And you're not just going to go look for any little thing off the street. So that's how serious we take our food plan. We need to take it serious so we don't end up in disease, right? Diabetes, pain in our body, inflammation. If we just obey the plan, we're not going to have these problems. So pig squeal is misidentified as your own thoughts. Sometimes we don't know if it's the pig squealing or if it's just our own thoughts in there. But anything that's not using your higher brain to decide, it's your lizard brain, your primal brain, your monkey brain, that's all pig squeal. So anything trying to take you off plan is pig squeal. Notice gray areas your pig has snuck into your food plan. So maybe you decide you want to do paleo after you do Optavia or my nutrition plan here. Your next thing is, I really like the way I feel when I'm eating on paleo or keto, or I like the way I feel when I'm going vegan or vegetarian. You get to decide, but you're going to notice when your pig has snuck into your food plan, because you will go off your plan some days, and there'll be some gray areas there. Now your target gets really fuzzy and we can't hit our goals. So that's why we have criteria and we be very specific. If we're going to eat off plan, how often are we going to eat off plan? When are we going to eat off plan? How much food are we going to eat off plan? Can you see when we get really specific beforehand and we write this down, we stick to it? Do you feel 100% confident to comply with your food plan forever? This is where most people say no. If not, you need to learn how to cage the pig squeals or else change your plan. So good. So we either have to do the mental work on our brain to cage the pig, or we've got to loosen up on our plan so that we can follow our plan. Is it too restricting? What I loved about this book is there were so many people that he would coach, and he would define their food plan exactly. If they wanted to never eat sugar and flour again, and then he'd say, oh, how confident are you? And at first they'd be like, oh, 80%. He'd get them to 90%. Finally, he'd get them to 100%. Why? Because it was really just understanding that pig is only trying to get you to say yes to this thing in the now, and it's not actually the future. We're going to talk about that in just a second. It's pretty cool. But it's important to note that many people wait. They wait to get started until they can honestly say they feel 100% confident in their plans. These people are confusing their pig's feelings for their own. You don't have to feel 100% confident. You only have to intellectually believe your food plan represents your best thinking at a time when you were of sound mind and were motivated enough to put it in black and white. Then you declare yourself 100% confident in all other thoughts and feelings as belonging to the pig, so you can reject them. Then you just take the leap. That's important, you guys, that you don't confuse those feelings with the pig squeals. That's why, because you will feel 100% confident when you're in sound mind and you want to do this and you want to go all in. You're 100% of a sound mind. You're motivated enough. And so don't confuse the pig squeals with your own feeling. You just have to take the leap and be confident that you can follow whatever eating plan that you want to for the rest of your life, and you won't gain this weight back. Just tell yourself that. Be confident in that. It's the pig telling you that you won't and you can't and you will gain that weight back. Don't listen to the pig. You're in control of you every second of the day, not the pig. Why would anyone ever choose to binge when they could just cage the pig and keep it in there? Discipline equals freedom, you guys. Discipline equals freedom. A lot of times we talk about, or we hear the pig say, this is too disciplined to eat this way. We can't have any fun now. eating's fun. We've associated eating and good times as freedom and fun, and now our life is not going to have that anymore. But what that's actually doing to us is caging us in. We become a slave to food and to surrounding ourselves when we're with people with a bunch of food that's not even good for our body. And so that's why the discipline equals freedom rule here is really crucial to understand, that your freedom really comes from not feeling the pain of inflammation in your body, or having, you know, a type 2 diabetes in the future, things that would slow you down, any kind of illness or sickness, even dementia as you get older. We're freeing ourselves from a life that will cage us up if we continue to eat and binge and eat foods that aren't serving our body or helping our body heal the way they can. So we define it even more, okay? Every rule in your food plan is defined as crystal clarity. He talks about changing the word always to never. So just saying, I always drink water, you can say, I never leave my bedroom in the morning without drinking a glass of water. That really solidifies it, doesn't it? Instead of saying, I always eat healthy foods, you can say, I never consume more than 2,000 calories during the work week. If that's appropriate for your body, okay? You can define this crystal clear so you really know your plan. You don't have to strain or struggle to resist doing something you've sworn never to do as a matter of character, as long as the line is crystal clear, okay? So that's why we define this, we get it down on paper, we decide what it's going to look like. Okay, so for the plan you're on now, it's I time my fuelings every 2 to 3 hours, and I eat exactly as this plan is defined in my guidebook, and I stick to it. And we get even crystal clear on our lean and greens, don't we? I eat 3 cups of dark green leafy vegetables for my lean and green, and I weigh and I measure out 5 to 7 ounces of my protein. And I stick within the condiment regulations and snack regulations for the day. We just define it. It's so, and that's the beautiful thing about the program you're on. It's already defined for you, really. You just have to repeat it. Once you're on your own after this, though, you're going to want to define a plan that works for you. Okay, so sometimes when I have a client who might get kind of bored with their eating plan, we have to either work through that in their brain and work with the voices that the pig is trying to say, like, this isn't any fun, I'm so tired of this, I don't like this food anymore, this is boring. We can work with that. Some people say, I just want to try whole foods this week, you know, for 1 week and then go back on my plan. As long as you just define it so good and know exactly what your plan is, you're going to be okay. You won't gain weight. So what my parents do and what I do is, you know, when I am not wanting to be on a strict protocol, I'll just say, you know, I'm going to go on my whole foods detox for a week. I'm going to do some whole foods for my detox menu and recipes. And I'm only going to do that. I'm not going to go out. There's no sugar, no flour. I'm not going to have any of that. I just define it really well when my brain starts to give me trouble with Optavia plan or anything like that. But otherwise, I work through that brain stuff going on, and I just say, no, we're doing this. We're going all in. And I lay out my feelings and I say, okay, here's what we do. And we go all in. So it's just important to define it. We got to recognize those pig squeals, don't we? Here, let's talk about some of them. I'll just take one bite. One bite won't hurt. Have you heard that one before? I know I have, especially when we've lost some weight. How easy is it just to say, oh, but just one bite, it's not going to do any harm at all. I'll get back to my diet tomorrow. It's fine if I just go off today. My friends are all going to lunch, you know, I can go to lunch and eat whatever I want. I'll go back on my diet tomorrow. Or just this once. It's just this once. My family's coming into town and it's just this once. I have to eat something to relax. I'm so stressed out, work and anxiety and the world and the news and COVID and all this stuff going on, I just have to eat something to relax. Can you hear the pig squealing? I'm a failure. I can't resist. I'm broken when it comes to food. We've heard those voices, haven't we? You're giving up freedom by imposing a disciplined food plan. There it is. The pig tries to tell us we're giving up freedom. When you stop rewarding the urge to binge, your lizard brain, that monkey brain, your primal brain, realizes eventually that the effort isn't worth the reward, so it gives up. So eventually that voice, the pig, it's going to give up when you don't feed it. This is why if you manage to avoid binging for a few days, the urge to binge decreases so dramatically. Therefore, the formula is rather simple. To stop binging, you simply need to stop rewarding the urge. All right, so for example, let's just say you're at dinner with a bunch of family members, and now it's dessert time, and your very favorite dessert comes out. You're gonna hear these voices here just this once. I'll get back to my diet tomorrow. One bite won't hurt. I can do this. I won't tell my health coach. It's fine. And what do? If you choose to listen to the pig and give in, now we've hit the reward center, and now that pig's gotten exactly what it wants. It's going to keep squealing. You're going to hear those squeals more and more. But if you choose not to eat that cake or whatever is in front of you that you love, we stop rewarding the pig, and those voices die down dramatically. We stop hearing them altogether because it just knows it can't get us anymore. We stop feeling the need and desire for things like that. Desire and urges for food are some of the strongest sensations in the body. And in the beginning, it's really hard. It's difficult for a few months even until you can really cage this thing in, rein it in. It takes practice, you guys. What you get when you stop listening to the pig. Here's the beautiful, amazing rewards we get. We can eat without guilt. We live in the body of our dreams. We live without dietary illnesses. We have the energy only a true nourished body can provide. We enjoy confidence in our own ability to master impulses. I think that's the biggest one right there. Just the confidence of mastering any impulses and reining that in, huge. We accomplish more progressively meaningful goals. And that's how we can live our most extraordinary life ever. So discipline does equal freedom, doesn't it? How about this part about the scale? Most permanently thin people say the best way to lose weight is a regular weigh-in. Weigh in first thing in the morning. It forces a reality check before you start your daily food intake. Make friends with your scale. What did you think about that part? That was an interesting part, wasn't it? Make friends with your scale. He mentioned weighing in every single day. Now, we only weigh in once a week on this protocol, but I would say if you don't make it mean anything negative about you, go ahead and weigh in every single day, because it's going to hold you accountable. What happens when we go too long between weigh-ins is it offers all that time for a binge, for more piggy squeals to happen. When we get on the scale, we really can take control of, okay, how do I want to feed my body today? What do I want that to look like? It reins us in and holds us accountable to our eating plan and what we're going to do. So, when I was coaching and I had my own coach, she would say the same thing as this guy is, hey, weigh in every single day. And I thought that was crazy, because I'd never, as a holistic health coach, it's more about loving your body and body image and all that beautiful, wonderful stuff. That's awesome, no matter what size you are. But I also think there's something to be said for having some accountability to the scale and to yourself and what you put in your body, and not making it mean anything. It's just the pull of gravity on your body, and just letting the scale be neutral. Whatever that number comes up, you just feel neutral. It's not good or bad, because you're not going to have a thought about it. I guess if it goes down, you feel good. But if it goes up or it stays the same, let's just consider it neutral. And how can I feed my body better this day? What can I do better this day? How can I rein it in better this day? You might say, okay, no dairy, no wheat, no sugar, 100 ounces of water. That is my plan today. I'm writing it on 3 sticky notes and putting those sticky notes on the fridge and on my mirror and in my car. So wherever I'm looking, I can see those and just remember, like, this is my plan today, no matter what, until I really have it down. Okay. How you'll do it. All right, here's how you're gonna do your plan. Systematically and ruthlessly identify all your trigger foods and your eating behaviors. So which foods trigger you to go into more of a binge or crave that food even more? And what are your behaviors around it? Is it ice cream? Is it sweets? Maybe it's chips. Maybe it's salty foods with oils that are terrible. French fries, hamburgers, fast foods. What are your trigger foods and what are your eating behaviors around those foods? And then we clarify the healthiest decisions you can possibly make when confronted by them. So if you are going out to eat at a restaurant that doesn't have a lot of healthy choices, how do we pick the healthiest decision? If it's a hamburger place, well, you could probably see if they have chicken breast that's not been fried and battered and all of that, and see if you can get a grilled chicken sandwich without the bun. Put it between 2 pieces of lettuce, no sauces on there. That would be a healthy choice. We just have to think outside the box of how we can make healthier choices, no matter what's going on in our life, whether it's a holiday, whether it's people coming into town and we're going out to eat. How do we make the best decisions when we're confronted by all this unhealthy lifestyle, food and drink, and all the choices we can make? And then we commit to those decisions as a matter of character, because this is who we are and who we are trying to become and want to become. Character is everything, you guys. Who you decide you want to be in this life and become, it says a great deal about the person you are and the person you are in your community and how people can trust you, because you trust yourself, because you commit to your decisions and you make it happen. And then lastly, we define any thought or feelings that suggest that we will ever act in the most remote way otherwise as our destructive self. So we've got to catch it. When we see ourselves with the destructive behaviors and the pigs kind of taking over again, we got to rein that in. We got to define the thoughts and the feelings that are causing us to act that way and binge again or eat off plan. What's the thought that caused you to grab the bag of chips and eat the whole thing? What was going on in our brain? We have to learn how to catch the thought so that we can catch it over and over again, and we can work on it and work it out. Okay? Your pig is pretending like it has a time machine. Okay, this is the part I really liked, because when he would ask people in their interviews and say, hey, how sure are you that you'll stay on your plan? And they couldn't ever get to 100% at first. And he would say this: your pig is pretending like it has a time machine. It's acting as if it can't get you now, but it's going to get you in the future. But really, it's attacking you right now. And therefore, you don't have to worry about what happens in a few days. The only time you have to defend yourself is now. Your pig does not have a time machine. It can always operate in the present moment. So if you only ever use the present moment to be healthy, you'll be fine. The future is an infinite string of nows right now. So you always get to choose right now. What are you going to do right now? Don't think about the future. Your pig does not have a time machine. It thinks it's going to get you in the future, but it's always just a string of nows and what you're going to choose right now. So if you know right now that you're all in and you're committed and you're 100% to your program and your protocol, Don't worry about the future. It's not going to get you. You're going to be fine because you're going to choose health, because you're choosing health right now. So good. So good, you guys. All right. That is what we got for our book this time around. So here's what we're doing. Our next month's book read is The Big Leap. Okay, if you've never read this one, write this down. We are really going to conquer any hidden fears, take it to the next level here. I've read this book twice. I can't read it enough. It's so good. I learn something from it every time. So we're going to read The Big Leap for the month of September, next month. We will meet at the end of September. We will talk about The Big Leap, and I want to hear about any of your takeaways. So that's what I have for next month's book club. Do we have any questions or comments? You can unmute yourself or you can pop them in the chat if you want to say anything. I think Susan, that's you on there. Susan, how you doing, Susan? It's you and me tonight, but I've got this recorded, so I will send this out to the group and see if they can remember to read this book as well, and I will remind you guys. Hope that this was helpful for you. This Never Binge Again book, it had some things in it that I was like, oh, I don't know, but then I was really open to hearing about people's ways of doing things and how they get their results. Thank you for that compliment. So we're going to just continue next month. We'll go through another book and we'll just talk about the highlights of it, and it's going to be The Big Leap. So plan on that. And I don't want to take any more of your time tonight. I want these to be maximum like 45 minutes, and I think we did it. So have a beautiful rest of your night, and I will talk to you next time. Bye-bye.